keeping this covenant. Man's had enough of it. Trust. My people are suffering every day. The sin that we smothered in. It seems like we loving it. Do we? 'Cause we never stopping it.
This is Hebrews chapter 10 verse 24. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to do good, and to good works.
Right, and that's something. It's important to meditate and remember that it's all about good works. It's not about anything other than making sure you can produce good fruit unto the Heavenly Father. So there's many things that can come up in the day, they may not be to your liking, but you still got to turn around and make some good fruit of it. Don't turn around and turn it into bitterness, turn it into strife, but turn around and make it into good fruit, right? That's why we want to provoke one another unto good works. You might see someone might not do something someone might do something that you do not like. The question is, how are you going to now turn that into good fruit? Because you still need to produce good works at the end of the day. Let's read on.
Not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more, as ye see the day approaching.
Right, and we see the day approaching where we're going to realize how important it was when we did gather together. There may be a time when you're alone in tribulation, and you're going to think about the brothers and sisters that you see here today, the elders that you see here today. You'll be like, you know what? I'm not alone, because there are elders, there are brothers and sisters out there that are going through and doing the same thing I'm going through. So it's important to gather together so that in those days where you feel like you're alone, you realize no, you're not, because on a personal level from the times where you actually interacted with these people that we are going through these same tribulations, we are going through these same things, right? So let's start in Leviticus 23, just to give the significance of why we are here. And we'll start at verse 23.
It's Leviticus chapter 23 verse 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the 1st day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets and holy convocation.
Right, so it's the memorial of the blowing of trumpets. Right, so I'm going to pose the question, does anyone know what the significance is of trumpets? What do you say?
Isn't that the time when the trumpets are sounding in Yahushua when he returns?
So you said when Yahushua is returning? Yeah, that's definitely one of them. Wake up call, yeah. Right, so these are these things. Right, and a warning. So trumpets are very significant, and we want to see why the Lord has ordained every year for us to do this. This is a new moon. It's the 1st day of the 7th month, and this is the top new moon. It's the most important new moon, and on the new moons, we blow a trumpet to signify a holy convocation. Let's go to Numbers chapter 10 and verse 2.
This is Numbers chapter 10 and verse 2. Make thee 2 trumpets of silver. Of a whole piece shalt thou make them, that thou mayest use them for the calling of the assembly and for the journeying of the camps.
So for the calling of the assembly and the journeyings of the camps. So when we had to come together, you see in the scriptures, it's called a holy convocation, as it says. That convocation requires a trumpet to be blown to know that this is the time when everyone needs to gather together. Because chiefly, that's what these trumpets are for everyone to know it's time to gather together. And these are the times we're in. People want to act like that's not part of the... People are trying to miss these scriptures and just do their own thing by themselves and say, I can just be in the truth by myself. But how are you going to keep the Feast of Trumpets by yourself when it's literally trumpets are talking about coming together with other people? So literally, we have to do that. We can't ignore certain things and just do my own thing. Now, it's important to gather together, that there be no schism in the body. You can't be, oh yeah, I'm part of the body, but you're by yourself. Now what body? Your own body. You're meant to be part of Hamashiach's body, which is all of us coming together with all the different fruits and labors that we have, right?
Let's go to Zephaniah 2 and 1, because we have to understand as well that the gathering together is something that we're actually commanded to do. It's not just, you can't really be an Israelite. It's hard to be an Israelite and be by yourself, because you don't have accountability, you don't have the beauty of being able to hear praise and worship like that, So I think, these feast days, these holy days that we have are, this is for us to keep in righteousness, right? Got that? Zephaniah 2 and verse 1.
Zephaniah 2, verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea. Gather together, O nation not desired.
Right, so we're supposed to gather together. And that's the point of these feast days. That's why on the Shabbat we come together. Because that's the day we have. We're in our tribulation now where you might have to work, you might have to do everything you're doing. But all praises, the Lord has given us high holy days, not holidays, high holy days that we should keep, right? A real day to keep. And let's go Psalms 133 as well. Because it's a good thing to see how people gather together, and it's not for carnival, because these are the type of things they want us to gather together for carnival, for lewdness, for all sorts of folly. But all praise to the Most High that we've understood who we are, and we understood that now we have to keep what this Bible is saying, right? You got Psalms 133, verse 1? Yeah, come. Psalms 133, verse 1 it is.
Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Come. In what?
In unity.
In unity, right?
Bluetooth disconnected.
So it's good for us, right, as brethren, to dwell together in unity. And this is the unity that we should be having, right? Especially if it's under the words of the Most High God. It's not under anybody else, not under the Quran, it's not under, TD Jakes or something. It's under the Most High God, right? We have to understand that. We're just reading the Bible, and the Bible says we have to gather together. You can't stay at home, you get your feet up, gather together. So all praises that the Most High has given this holy day, right, for us to observe. Alright, come on.
Alright, let's go to Numbers chapter 10 and verse 9. Yeah, man. We can't forsake the gathering at all. And we want to remember that every brother and sister that we have is a part of Hamashiach's body. So when we're having that Passover and we're having that bread, it's all to remember that we have every brother and sister that we have here today. So, after, when we finish this, it's important to, get to know brothers and sisters, in a sense that you didn't before, right? Because you may not get this time again. That's why the Lord appointed these times, and it's really important. And this is why these trumpets are important, because the Most High, He wants so much for His children to be together, Let's read Numbers 10 and verse 9 as well, though.
And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies.
So when we go into war, we blow these trumpets as well, right? And, you kind of see a particular spirit like that in the world where, in like football, for example, like in the World Cup, they had these, I don't know what they're called, but they blow these, and they make that, dun, 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 dun. Yeah. And then, so we're not going to be using those. We have a specific shofar that's used. You do that, dun, dun, and you say, Yasha Allah, after. No, like, that's not what it was. Right? So it's literally a shofar made from the horn of an animal. And it's not making a squeaky, weird type of sound, right? This is a sound also to use when we're going to war. So we actually have to go to war. And we go to war against demons. We go to war against evil spirits as well in our lives. So we're all warriors in a sense, right, when it comes to the truth. Because we have to war against ignorance. We have to war against the flesh. So we are warriors. You can't tell yourself, no, I'm not a warrior. I'm not a conqueror. When the scriptures say we are these things. So you have to be. And say, no, I'm too young to be a warrior. I'm only 5 years old. The scriptures say you're meant to be 20. But on a spiritual level, you gotta fight. You can't wait till you're 20 to start fighting spirits, right? To start rebuking thoughts. Now, I'll get into the truth when I'm 20. No, right? Or I'm a female. I'm not meant to go to war. No, we're all warriors because we're all Israelites from the seed of Jacob, and we have to fight, right? And you want to, as a sister, you want to fight to protect your husband and your children as well, right? You got in the world, they've got these. Only Israel do these debates. Or is not even in the truth, but in the world. Oh, should I? What are you gonna do if you have a man that comes to rob your house at night? Should the man go and fight him or the woman? And they try and say, well, the man, of course, because that's what a man is meant to do. Well, in any situation, you gotta protect your husband or protect your wife in general. So you can't be in a situation where, let's say, the wife is by the door, the husband is sleeping in the bed, and then the man kind of creeps in the house, right? And he's coming to take the kids away. And the wife just says, well, no, the man's got to do it because he's the head of the house, he's the husband. And then since he's sleeping, now he goes and takes the kids away and just runs away with the kids because say, nah, I'm a female. No, like we all have to stand up for our families and ourselves, right? We're all warriors. Let's go to real quick even 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 4.
So 2 Timothy, chapter 2 verse 4. Chapter 2 verse 4. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier.
As what?
Has chosen him to be a soldier.
We're chosen to be soldiers. That's what it means to be a chosen people. That we're chosen to be soldiers. Right? We're not chosen just to tell people that we're Israel and fight people, fight Christians and stuff like that. That's not what we're chosen to. We're chosen to fight the spirits that come up against us in the truth. So let's go back to Numbers 10 and 9. Right? The Lord said if we go to war, we want to blow these trumpets. Right? Let's read it again.
It's Numbers chapter 10 verse 9. And if ye go to war in your land against the enemy that oppresseth you, then ye shall blow an alarm with the trumpets, and ye shall be remembered before the Lord your God, and ye shall be saved from your enemies.
Right. So we want to be remembered before the Lord. And you had certain animals that are warrior type animals. For example, the horse. You can go to that in Job 39 verse 19. Everything has its purpose. Trumpets has its purpose. You even have trumpets in the heavens, and we'll go into that. Everything has its purpose. Dogs have their purpose, pigs. Just because an animal's unclean doesn't mean it's unnecessary. Rats, flies, they all have their purpose on the earth because they serve a purpose in order to take waste away from the earth. Horses, they have their purpose. Horses are not made to do equestrian, right? And do that funny walk, man. That's not what they're made for. They're not made, you're trying to do My Little Pony and stuff. These horses are made for one thing and one thing only. right? That's why you didn't. You had the ass or donkey. You use that for the work. You use that for the servile work, right? No one's really using their horse in the field like that because it has a particular purpose, and the Most High has made every animal for its purpose.
That's right.
Let's read that.
This is Job chapter 39, verse 19. Hast thou given the horse strength? Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? Canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? The glory of his nostrils is terrible.
And you gotta think about that. You can't make. Have you ever seen anyone scare a horse? You know, kind of just, and then kind of horse just kind of just goes back. No, man. Horses are made for war. Let's read on.
He poureth in the valley and rejoiceth in his strength. He goeth on to meet the armed men.
He does what?
He goeth on to meet the armed men.
Right, the horse goes to meet the armed men. The horse will literally go to war, and then that's his purpose. Why do you think they can literally do that and not run away in battle? You know, you try to take another animal, like a dog, right, to war, it'll run away, right? And the dogs know when they're outnumbered, right, and out strengthened. Horses, they're not gonna run away, man, right? So let's also go to 1 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 35. So you had particular animals that you bring out to war with you. Horses, you know, that would be your main one. And that's likened onto, you know, today, you know, you have your manpower really, right? So let's read this.
This is 1 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 35. Moreover, they divided the beasts among the armies, and for every elephant they appointed. And for every elephant they appointed 1,000 men, armed with coats of mail, and with helmets of brass on their heads. And beside this, for every beast were ordained 500 horsemen of their best.
Right, so going to war, right? Horses, they'll be good for war, but also elephants as well. Elephants were mighty warriors, right? Yeah, an elephant is like what they use tanks for today. And if you look at a tank, it looks very much like an elephant. Right? It's got the long nose at the front. It's big, hefty, just walks through anything, right? These are your, you know, Esau's used and made his artillery and stuff and based it off what the Lord had made in the first place, right? So, you know, the tanks that we use today, they're really the elephants that were used in the ancient world. And when you look into elephants, Levi, got it up. So elephant acoustics. Why did they make that sound, right? That's why we use these trumpets. They make a particular sound for a particular reason at a particular time. So elephant's communication is elephant acoustics in this article. It says elephants produce several sounds, usually through the larynx, though some may be modified by the trunk. Perhaps the most well-known call is the trumpet, which is made by blowing through the trunk. So that sound that they make, right, is actually called the trumpet. It says trumpeting is made during excitement, distress, or aggression. Right? And that's the same reason we use the trumpets for now. For excitement, meaning when we gather together, because that's a time of rejoicing and excitement, and distress or aggression. What's distress or aggression? When the enemy's coming in and we're going to go to war. So the Lord makes, this is not just something that man just made up. Oh, like this is also in the animals and all the elements of the world. It says fighting elephants may roar or squeal, and wounded ones may bellow. So this is, it's actually called trumpeting. And they trumpet these elephants because that's their role, right, when it comes to war and when it comes to gathering together. Just like how the Most High told us that's what we have to do. Let's go to Revelation chapter 4 and verse 1. And we're going to see how we need these trumpets to understand what's going to happen in the future.
So it's Revelation chapter 4 verse 1. After this I looked, and behold, a door was opened in heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, Come up hither.
Which said what?
Come up hither.
So the voice of the trumpet said, what? Come up hither. Because like the brother said, right, it's all about gathering together, right? So that trumpet is for us to gather together. And why we gather together? Let's go to Genesis 49 verse 1, because you don't, like the brother said, we're not gathering together for carnival, man. We're not gathering together for birthday parties or Christmas, right? Santa Claus, and anything that's really of the world, really. We're gathering together because the Most High told us. But he didn't just tell us for vanity. It's important why he told us. Let's go on.
This is Genesis chapter 49 verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
Right, so we gather together to learn what's going to happen to us in the future. Because you can't go to the Christian church and try and find out what's actually going to happen in the future.
Sure.
They're not going to tell you. What are you going to say? They're going to tell you, just Jesus loves you, and he'll never hurt you. That's like, we need to go into the book of Revelation and find out what's going on. We need to go into the prophecies and find out what's going to happen to us in the future.
Right.
We need to gather together, not to roll around on the floor and do backflips and skanking.
And then say it's the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, and then say that's the Holy Spirit. No, we want to come together and find out what's actually going to happen to us in the future. What did God say? What did the Most High say? What did Yahweh actually tell us is going to happen in the future, so we know how to prepare ourselves mentally and spiritually? But what do we need to do? What do we need to work on? That's why we gather together, because people can show you and be an example for you for things that you may have lacked on, right? And you may see someone, someone might point out to you something that you did wrong. Someone may point out to you, something you could better your future, and you could work on this, or you do this in your life. How about you do it this way, right? That's why we gather together, so we can know how to move more correctly in the future. So let's go to Revelation chapter 5, right, and verse 3.
This is Revelation chapter 5 verse 3. And no man in heaven nor in earth, neither under the earth, was able to open the book, neither to look thereon.
Right, so there's a book which literally speaks about our history and also our future. Right, our history, because this is 2,000 years ago and certain things have come to pass already, but there's certain things that are still yet to come to pass. We're here to gather together because we need to know what's going to happen into the future. Like we saw, the trumpets are used for the journeying of the camps. So when you're journeying, you need to know where you're going. Not just walking, they say, willy-nilly. Right? You're just going just wherever. No, you're going with direction as to an end goal of where we need to be. So there's a book which is going to pertain to things that are going to happen into the future, so Israel may know which way to go. Let's read on.
And I wept much, because no man was found worthy to open and to read the book, neither to look thereon.
Right, there's no man worthy to read this book. There's no man worthy to go into that book, but who? Let's read on.
And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not, behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
No, Haile Selassie.
The Lion of the tribe of Judah,
Right.
the root of David, have prevailed to open the book.
No, this is not Selassie. He didn't open the book, man. All right. When did he find out the prophecies? When did he find out what's going to happen in the future? He didn't. He's not around no more. Read on.
And to loose the 7 seals thereof.
Right, the 7 seals. So seals have a particular purpose as well, because it's to refrain. Like you have an envelope, it's sealed, right? The envelope is written to you and it's sealed, because that's only for you to be able to open it and read it. And if anyone else has opened it and read it, then you would know, because that seal is broken. That's what a seal is for. So you'd have letters that would be sealed, because there was no WhatsApp back then, right? There's no Instagram DMs. They had to use messengers, write letters, seal it, and then ensure that the messenger doesn't open the letter and that nobody else opens the letter. And when that person receives it, they know that this is being kept private and confidential. Like you may have them envelopes that literally says private and confidential on it, and it's been sealed. You have the 7 seals, meaning this book is completely sealed that no man can go in it but Yahweh Shai. He's the only one who's been anointed and chosen to understand and know what's actually going to happen in the last days. So let's go to Revelation chapter 6. So we're gonna go through some of these seals, not all of them, but just to show what we was coming out of, what we're in now, and what's next, right? So we're gonna read verse 1 first, just for the context.
It's Revelation chapter 6, verse 1. And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard, as it were, the noise of thunder, one of the 4 beasts saying, "Come and see."
Right. So the Lamb, which is Yahweh Shai, he's opening the seals, and now we're gonna find out what is in these scrolls. Let's go to verse 5 though. We're gonna start off in that 3rd seal, and then Most High willing we'll get to the 5th seal and see where we're at, where we're coming from, and because let's read that. I'm wondering what do the Christians say about these seals?
Revelation chapter 6, verse 5. And when he had opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd beast say, "Come and see." And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand.
Alright, so there's this black horse. So black, a lot of people they get mad because like black is used nowadays to say black and proud and Black Lives Matter, but we're not black. Black is not a positive thing, and when we look and we understand that it's not because we're nasty or stuff like that. No, because our skin is not black, our skin is brown. So black is actually a negative thing, and white is actually a positive thing. And it might be like, okay, well, that sounds kind of racist, or maybe this is a white man's book. No, we'll slow down and understand why that's being used and why that's significant. So it's not just the negative and positive, it's about the function specifically of what black means. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 14, verse 1. Come. What is it? You read it.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14, verse 1. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the dearth. Judah mourneth.
Concerning the dearth. Dearth is another word for famine. Right? Let's read that.
Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up.
Right, so it says the gates thereof languish, and they are black unto the ground. I know some people say, well, see, that's how we know the Israelites were black. And yeah, in a sense, right, you can say that, but in this context, it's really talking about the fact that they're in famine, right? And when you're in famine, famine is caused by too much sun or not enough rain, or both of those together. So if you have too much sun, ultimately, the crops aren't going to grow, they're going to be burnt out. And that's how we can be, because we've got too much sun, and that sun can be affliction and persecution. And ultimately, if you've got too much sun, you're going to get dark to the point where you're black, right? I know me, I kind of tan quite quickly as well. So that blackness is about us going through a lot of the sun. Let's go to the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verse 25. Because although we're melanated, everyone on the earth is melanated, originally, right? The main people that inhabited the earth, they were melanated. So you have to get the concept of even like white people existing kind of out of the picture at the moment when trying to understand why black is being used in this negative way. Let's read it.
It's the book of Baruch, chapter 2, verse 25. And lo, they are cast out to the heat of the day and to the frost of the night, and they died in great miseries by famine, by sword, and by pestilence.
Right, so they were cast out to the heat of the day. So that heat of the day is that famine. The famine that they were going through is referred to as the heat of the day, right? Because the heat can literally cause a famine upon the earth. You're not having enough water in order to cool you down. It's the same way with the seeds, right? And if you've been outside for the last 3 weeks or so where there's been a heat wave, you would know there's a particular time of the day where it's just too hot to be outside for real, to be out in the sun. You need some form of shade and some form of water. Like between about 2 till about 4 p.m. That's the heat of the day, where it's so hot outside, where you wouldn't want to be outside. For example, if you was working in a field or a vineyard, you wouldn't want to be working in your vineyard or your field in those temperatures. You want to be inside, you want to be in the shade. But imagine you had to work in that and you didn't have any drink. Your skin would literally go dark to the point where it's black, and then you maybe feel like you want to pass out, right? You'd be dying of thirst. That's what it means to be black, right, in the scriptures. Let's also go to Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. But the point in that, we know it's not talking about any white people, because when they go in the sun, they never go black anyway. Right? They go red. So they can never use the concept of the sun afflicting them and then becoming black, because that's never happened. I've never seen any white person go black in the sun. Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. So we know this is talking about melanated people becoming dark and being afflicted. You think, yeah, we came from hot countries, we weren't sunbathing. We're not them type of people to just, the sun's out, oh yeah, it's summertime, let's go and sunbathe. We're still not those type of people today. Yeah, the sun's out, but it's like, right, it's too hot still, right? We like our shade, we like being inside, we like being cool. Right? We're not trying to be overheated, we're never like that. So when you were in those positions, you had to work and you were outside and the sun's afflicting you, it's not a comfortable position to be in. They didn't have freezers back then. You can go and get an ice cold now, right? So you wouldn't want to be out in the sun like that. In the summer, in the heat of the day, right? That's why that's being used. Let's read that.
It's Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black.
I am what?
I am black, but comely.
Right, but comely. So, remember that Jehovah's Witness kind of brought it out to. Alright, so Christians don't know what this means, but this is really Solomon. He's saying that he's black and comely, but he's also talking about the estate of Israel, right? Saying they're black and beautiful. Now, like I said, we know this can't really be talking about white people because, well, firstly, they're not black, right? But it says, but comely. So one may say, okay, why does it say but and not and comely? Right? Because naturally, we're brown-skinned people. We're not dark people. For example, you have the original Africans who were naturally, they were more darker than us back then. And you can see in the walls in Egypt, when they painted us, they were painting the Semitic people, they were still dark brown, but they were lighter than the actual Egyptians themselves. So we were still dark brown, but they were way, way darker brown, right? And we've seen that. There we see the South Sudanese guy. We see the actual Egyptian. Like Jake wants to claim to be Egyptian. We've seen him. He said, "Yeah, I'm a real Egyptian," and he was darker than all of us, for real. He was dark because those actual original Hamitic African Hamites, they're way darker than us. And that's why, it was called the land of Ham. I didn't get Ham in the blue letter, and it's in the Strongs or whatever, right?
So this, this is Ham in the Blue Letter Bible, and it says, for the biblical usage, Hot, one of the second son of Noah, father of Canaan, and of various peoples which were inhabitants of southern lands. In late usage, a collective name for Egyptians.
Go to the etymology of Ethiopia as well. So, Ham, it actually means hot. In the Hebrew, it means hot, because that land, right, is where those people were naturally a lot darker than us. So it's not all about, who's got melanin and who doesn't, right? Because we come from a particular people the Most High has chosen out of a melanated people, and that's how special we are. It's not just about, you got people just think it's just about melanin. It's not just about that. Oh, we're saying you guys are Israelites because you guys are black. No, we're not saying that. We're saying it because the scriptures, the history, the prophecies, they all link up and show us who we are. So yes, we're going to get that as well.
So this is the etymology of Ethiopia. It says Ethiopian, Negro, from Greek, Athiops, long supposed in popular etymology from Atheon to burn, plus ops and face, which means face.
So
burnt face.
So it means burn and face. We got those two words, and that's how they come to form the word Ethiopia. Because Ethiopia, you got a lot of Rastas that say we're from Ethiopia.
Bluetooth connected.
Or we're Ethiopian. No, we're not Ethiopian. Ethiopian means burnt faces. When the Greeks went over there, they saw how particularly dark the actual inhabitants of that region was. They called them burnt faces because they're darker than our people, right? They're original Ethiopians, right? So that will be from Cush, which is also from Ham. So we have to understand that, right? Being melanated is not a bad thing, but it's not all about melanin. Let's read on. Let's read it again from the top, verse 5. And read through.
Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black, but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon.
All right, go on.
Look not upon me, because I am black, because the sun have looked upon me.
Because what?
Because the sun have looked upon me.
It says the sun has looked upon him. So as we were saying, he is black because the sun has looked upon him. So we know that no white man could have wrote this. Never seen a son look upon a white man and then he goes black, right? He's black because the sun has looked upon him, but really he's actually speaking prophetically through the Spirit, right? Speaking in, I believe it's that third person, to speak about us in the future. Read on.
My mother's children were angry with me.
My mother's children. So we're the Israelites. Our mother is Rebecca, right? And she had two children, Jacob and Esau. Let's read that bit again.
My mother's children were angry with me.
Who's angry with us? Esau. Esau's been angry with us. He has a perpetual hatred for us And that's why we are going through the sun afflicting us. That sun is that persecution and affliction. Let's go to Matthew 13 real quick. And we'll start in verse 6, I believe.
This is Matthew chapter 13, verse 6. And when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away.
Alright, so the sun was up and they were scorched. So Yahushua, he's given different scenarios in this parable where the seed can be sown. It can be sown on the wayside, it can be sown on stony ground, and it can be sown among thorns, and it can be sown into good ground. So we're particularly going to hone in on when it's fallen on stony ground and when the sun comes up and scorches it. So let's go down to verse 21. All right, and this is what it means when the sun is up and it's being scorched. The seed, which is the word.
This is Matthew 13, verse 21. Yet have he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended.
Right, so this son is going into tribulation and persecution, which is arising by the word. And that's what we've gone through, tribulation and persecution. And that's what that son is effectively doing, is putting us through tribulation and persecution. Right, and it can literally feel like that. If you're really outside and it's 30 plus degrees in the heat of the day, you know, that sun is gonna feel like an enemy to you. The sun is gonna feel like it's against you. It's wearing you out, it's tiring you out, it's burning you up. I need to get out of this and get into some shade and some protection. And we know under the shadow of Mashiach Yahushua, that's why it's called the shadow. What's the root word of shadow? Shade. Right? So when we're under the shadow of the Lord, we're really being protected by the heat that comes from this world that Esau is putting up against us, because we're the Israelites, but we're chosen to go through this fire. Like the brother Zeph was going into it, chosen to go through this heat, to go through this fire, to ultimately be refined and to come out as fine gold for real. So that's why the Most High tries us with this heat. He tries us with tribulation. He tries us with persecution. And that's what we're going through. And that's why Israel in general, you know, we are black onto the ground right now. Right? We're dark right now because we're going through a lot of heat right now. So that's why we are, even though we're going through a lot of stuff, you may be going through a lot of things in your life, you know, workplaces is jamming you up, right? You know, Esau at work is doing this, right? Your forefathers have been afflicted by these nations, not just Esau. That's you going through heat and tribulation. You find in trouble financially. That's heat and persecution and tribulation that the Most High puts us through to make us righteous. But these are things we're ordained to go through. And because of these things, on a spiritual level, we're black, right? We're not the golden brown that we naturally are. Now we're black, but we're still comely though. That's the main thing, right? We're the only people who can go through these things, go through this fire, and still come out and still have that smile, still look nice, still dress nice, right? Still smell nice, right? Still have our heads held high. We're the only people in the world that can do that. That's how we know we're the Israelites, even through that scripture alone, that no one else can go through persecution and be as comely as us. Let's finish that in the Song of Solomon, chapter 1, on verse 6.
This is Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 6. Look not upon me because I am black, because the sun have looked upon me. My mother's children were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyards.
They made me the keeper of the vineyards. And that's something that we've been doing. You go into work, right? I'm going to ask where everybody works. Not really a time for that. But you know where you work. You know, are you keeping your vineyard? Are you keeping the mother of your brother, what I just do now, your mother's children's vineyard, right? Which is Esau, right? Are you keeping his vineyard or are you keeping your vineyard, right? Are you making yourself, when you're keeping your vineyard or you're keeping a vineyard, you're building up produce for the keeper, for the owner of that, for the master of it. Are you just watching over it, right, tending to it? For example, you're a keeper of the cotton fields at one point, right? We was watching over the cotton fields, we was watching over the sugar plantations, we were watching over the tobacco plantations. That's us being a keeper of those vineyards. But we're keeping someone else's. That's something that we've gone through, right? So we will know that this is something we've gone through, and that's what it means to be black, right? Because we're going through all of this, we're going through all of this heat, going through all of this persecution, yet we're not keeping our own, we're not making our own money. We don't have our own currency. We don't have our own military, which we did which, people look over the fact that we used to have our own military. Let's also go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 30, because in the curses, this is what happens. You keeping someone else's vineyard is not a blessing. Right? You working and then checking in and checking out, you get your half an hour break and you're down trying to yam the food as quick as possible. That's curses. Let's read that.
Deuteronomy 28 verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her.
Right, which is a serious curse. And that was happening on the plantations.
That's right.
Men would get wives, and then, right, the slave master would have that woman as well. Let's read on.
Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein.
Right, and that's what we do. Right, we built the Europeans' houses. Literally, we built their nation, because we're the house of Israel. House is also a nation. We built their nation, right? The house of the UK was desolate after World War II, and who came and built that? Did we live in those houses? No, we're living in the council estates, right? After you built up the nation. Same in America, we built that up, but our people don't live in what's that place called? It begins with H. The Hamptons. We don't live in those places. We live in the ghetto places like New Hampshire. You never hear about Israelites in America that live in New Hampshire. No one even knows where that is. It's a state in America, right? No one knows about that, right? Because that's the nice places where the rich people live. Let's read on.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
Right, so we're not gathering the produce of the things that of where we work, right? That's us being a keeper of a vineyard, going through heat. So ultimately, the Most High refers to that as you're not golden brown and glowing like we would be. Because black basically means you're not glowing like you would be. Because we naturally glow. These Hamites, they don't glow, right? No other nation glows, right? Somalians don't glow, Indians don't glow, no other nation glows, only the Israelites glow. But our people, we're likened unto being black, right? Because we going through so much, yet we still look good though, right? And no one else can do that. Let's also go to Job chapter 30, verse 30 as well.
This is Job chapter 30 verse 30. My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat.
Right, so Job, he said his skin is black upon him and his bones are burned with heat. Why? Let's go to Job in the Strongs, like Job literally, the name Job.
Which one?
Right? Huh?
Which one?
Job.
Okay,
Right, because Job, because of, what he's gone through, right? Him losing his children, him losing his house, him being afflicted by Satan, Lord sending Satan to him and afflicting him twice. He's saying that his skin is black upon him now, and his bones are burned with heat. Right? You can see Job in the Strong's, so in the Hebrew, what that means. Crazy.
So this is Job in the Blue Letter Bible, H347. It says the biblical usage, Job is equal to hated and a patriarch, the subject of the book of Job.
Right. It said hated, right? So there's no one more hated than the Israelites. And that's what it means that we're, our skin is black upon us, because everything seems to be against us. Right? We're the hated people. Right? Like you were saying, something, what was it that happened in Peckham?
Oh, the store.
What was it?
So I'm sure everyone's seen the lady that got attacked by the Elamite in the shop in Peckham, trying to get a refund, I believe it was. Yeah, that.
So, when it's in a video of that, and in the comments, they're saying, oh yeah, like, she was a thief anyway. Why are you guys gathering together for this? You guys never, and this is like people from other nations, because you can tell by the names. And they say, yeah, well, how comes you guys never do that when they're stabbing your own people? You guys never do this, right? And that's what it means. We're hated, man. Anytime if you try to do something, right, these nations is quick to get on you, man. So, right, well, we're black, right, on a spiritual level, because we can never do right in the sight of these nations, man. Right? You try to do too good, they'll come against you. Or not do too good. If you do well, they'll look at you like, who's this person think they are? Trying to, being proud, right? Doing well. And then if you don't do well enough, you're lazy. And that's how these nations are, right? So we're the hated people. And the Most High, Yahushua said that we're going to be hated, right? And that's us going through that heat. That's a trial in itself. That's a persecution. That people hating you because they're in the truth, your family, people that you knew, they don't like you anymore, they don't want to know you anymore. All of that is a type of tribulation and persecution and heat. But if you come out of it and it's still as fine gold, then that's you being black and comely. Let's go back to Revelation.
Yeah, so let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon 3, verse 1. Because it's a good point that, we're showing that, like the brother was saying, in the Christian church, a lot of the time, they're not really going to tell you, it's all kind of soothe things. It's all kind of, we're going to tell you what you want to hear, right? But the Bible tells us we're going to go through tribulation. That's normal. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. That's the reality that the Bible teaches us that we need to be ready for, right? Let's read from Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 1.
The Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, verse 1. But the souls of the righteous are in the hand of Yahweh, and there shall no torment touch them.
Right, so the souls of the righteous, right? Those that are being righteous, keep into the word of God, right? If you are being righteous, then no torment's going to come to you, right? Keep reading.
In the sight of the unwise, they seem to die.
They seem to what?
They seem to die.
Right, because that's what we should be doing. We should be getting rid of your old man, your old woman, right? You should be killing that daily, right? You should be constantly renewing your mind, right? Keep going.
And their departure is taken from misery.
Right, because some people might look at you in the truth. Oh, why are you always there on the Saturday? What are you doing? How come you don't come out no more? Hey, because I'm trying to be righteous, man. That's what we need to. That's what people on the outside. That's how they see it. What these brothers, what these sisters doing? Why are you always reading that Bible? Right? That's how people kind of look at you at. And to them from looking from the outside in, it seems like he must be very miserable. She must be very tired, and but that's not what it is, because we're actually abiding in righteousness, man. We're gathering together in righteousness. We're not going to Nottingham Hill and thinking that that's our culture, man. Right? Keep reading.
And they're going from us to be utter distraction, but they are in peace.
But they're what?
But they are in peace.
Right, this is peace. This is peace. To really understand who I am according to the word, this is peace. This is the beauty of it, to understand, hey, I'm an Israelite. This is peace. Understanding that I might go through tribulation, I might not. This is peace. This is the reality. Right? Keep reading.
For though they be punished in the sight of men, yet is their hope full of immortality.
Right, because obviously on the outside, people looking in again, and they're thinking, oh, that must be terrible going to keep the Sabbath, right? Because they're looking in thinking that, but really, hey, we're trying to run for a race of immortality. Because when the kingdom comes, I want to see everyone in the kingdom. I want to see my people in the kingdom rejoicing. You know, that's what we want to see. That's what we're hoping for, right? That's why we're here. That's why we're running this race, right? Keep reading.
And having been a little chastised, they shall be greatly rewarded.
They shall be what?
They shall be greatly rewarded.
Keep going.
For Yahweh proved them and found them worthy for himself.
Right, so not everyone is going to be worthy, right? We have to understand that. Not everyone's going to be worthy, but us here now, gathering together, right, following the Bible and doing what the Bible is saying, this is what we're aiming for, right? We might be chastised a little bit, which is the reality, we understand that. However, we're going to be greatly rewarded, right? We're in this world, not of it, right? Like they love to say, right? We're in this world and we're not of it. Read that last verse 6 as well.
As gold in the furnace have we tried them.
As what?
As gold in the furnace have we tried them, and received them as a burnt offering.
Right, man, because we're going to be tried as gold, right? Because you sometimes you kind of find gold, you have to burn certain pieces of it, certain things of it off. Right? And that's us getting rid of our old man, our old women, our wicked ways, the ways that we used to have in the world. That's what we're doing. Right? That's what the Most High is doing to us when we get corrected. Right? And that's one thing we have to understand, being in this truth, being in this walk, that a correction, rebuke, when I get in trouble, I say all praises. Because that's me, something that I've got wrong. You know? Whether it's, you might have got a big fine. Hey, that's correction. You know what I'm saying? So this is something we have to understand as Israelites. Being chastised, hey, that's good. That's a good thing. I take that on the shoulder and say, hey, all praise to the Most High for that. Right? Got it.
Let's go to Revelation chapter 6 and verse 5. And now we can see, because you have different horses which are being mentioned, and you have this black horse, which is symbolic of these angels. Right. In fact, let's read that first.
Revelation chapter 6 verse 5. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say,
so real quick, let's go to Zechariah chapter 6 and verse 2.
This is Zechariah chapter 6 verse 2. In the first chariot were red horses, and in the second chariot black horses.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
And in the third chariot, white horses. Mm-hmm. And in the fourth chariot, grizzled and bay horses.
Go on.
Then I answered and said unto the angel that talked with me, what are these, my Lord?
Mm-hmm.
And the angel answered and said unto me, these are the four spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth.
Right, so these are spirits. These horses are not actual horses, but they're angels that go forth from the Most High. He sends them out. So you've got these black horses. And we have to understand why it's been used as black, or what does black represent. And we just went into it. It's going into famine, persecution, and heat that comes from this world. That's why they're referred to as black horses. Right? So let's go back to Revelation chapter. Oh, you got.
Yeah, so even on the point of famine, right, let's go to Genesis 41. Genesis 41, and we're going to start from verse 29, right? Because the thing of famine, it's obviously, something. Let's see how Joseph, dealt with this, right? Let's go into that account. Genesis 41, we're going to start from verse 29.
This is Genesis chapter 41, verse 29. Behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt. Mm-hmm. And there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt. Mm-hmm. and the famine shall consume the land.
Right, so this is going back to the point in Revelation 6 where we see that mention of a famine. Right, but this is obviously, like it says in Ecclesiastes 1 and 9, the thing that is that which will be, right? Here with Joseph, with this famine that was going to happen, right? They obviously had 7 years where it was going to be fine, then 7 years where there's a famine. We have to understand that with the times that are to come, we have to more so spiritually, the most important thing is to spiritually prepare ourselves. Just like we see with what Joseph done, where they had to, okay, what are we supposed to do? We're going to do this, we're going to make sure we stock up on this food and we stock up on that, right? Just like we have to do now as we're on this walk. We have to spiritually stock up on this word, like it says in Matthew 4:4. You can't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God, right? So we have to spiritually prepare ourselves for these things that are to come, because even when you look at some things like slavery, for example, we're very, I don't want to say privileged, but we're grateful to not have gone through that. We're like the gold that's kind of come out of that, because our parents and our parents probably before that have experienced that. But we're lucky to even be here, right? So while we're here, we spiritually prepare ourselves for the days that are to come, right?
Praises. Yeah, let's go back to Revelation 6. Right, so we know that these black horses, they, like Solomon said, that he's black because he's going through oppression and he's going through slavery. He said he's keeping another man's vineyard, people that hate him, right? So this black is hatred, oppression, going through slavery, and we're going to see that. Right? So it says, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand, in Revelation 6 verse 5. Those balances, when you go into the Greek, every time that word in the Greek is used, it says yoke. Why? Because yokes can be referred to as balances. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14. Because the yokes are meant to be balanced. Right, the yoke is what you put upon the oxen and they plow your field. So your ox are pretty much your servants. So they have a yoke, meaning this is to do with servitude. This is what these black horses are doing. They're responsible for slavery. Let's go on, let's read that.
It says 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers.
Right, so that's why it says balances, because your yokes need to be used where your oxen are balanced. You gotta have oxen that are of the same strength, right? You can't have one strong ox, right, that's in its prime, and another ox that's just come out of the womb, and you're yoking it together, and you're plowing the field. That don't make no sense. So these yokes are used to apply to your ox will be have you in servitude. That's what yokes are for. That's why it says be not unequally yoked, because the animals have to be balanced. And that's why the Lord is saying, don't have people in the truth that's going to weigh you down. Don't have people that's in the world that's going to take you away from this word. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 48. So this is us going through these curses. So that's when we go through more of it, we understand the time period that this is actually speaking about. This is talking about the slavery that our people have gone through.
It says Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron.
He shall what?
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck, until he hath destroyed thee.
Right, so we had yokes of iron on our neck. We don't even have the posters here today, but we know we had yokes of iron on our necks, and that's when we was in slavery. So this is what that angel, that black horse, is representing. So let's go back to Revelation 6 and let's read verse 6. So this is going into the times of us being in slavery. Like the brother said, we're not going through what our forefathers went through on those plantations and the severity of what they had to go through. Literally what? In the heat of the day, right? They weren't working in, They weren't on plantations in Northern Europe, Norway and Sweden, right? They were in the southern states where it's extremely hot in the summer, in the Caribbean, in the hottest places in the world, really. In some of the hottest places in the world, they were working day in and day out, right? That's how they became black, right? Dark skin, right? On a spiritual level, because they're going through much heat, much oppression, much persecution, much slavery. Let's read on.
This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 6. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine.
Right, so this is a time of us being in captivity, us going through the slaveries that we've gone through. The Lord said during these times, a measure of wheat will be for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, which is, these things, barley, wheat, these are the fundamental things for life. Let's go to the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse 25.
Yeah, it's the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse 25. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 39, and verse 25, sorry. So Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, right? And it reads, for the good are the good things created from the beginning, so evil things for the sinners. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. All these things are for good to the godly. So to the sinner they are turned into evil.
Okay. So when we read about wheat and barley in the scriptures, if it's good to the godly, we want to understand what that would mean. Let's go to Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. Because what's really our bread? It's really this word. But the Lord said it's going to be for a penny, meaning it's relatively cheap for you to get this word, even though when you go to work, you're getting taxed, right? You've got these bills and that bills, and next thing you know, you don't have anything in your pockets left. So it's like, how are you going to get the word? If you want to go and get some, university courses are £9,000 per year. £9,000 and you don't even get a degree, right? But what about getting this word though? Let's read that.
The Song of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 1. I am coming to my garden, my sister, my spouse. I have gathered my myrrh with my spice. I have eaten my honeycomb with my honey. I have drunk my wine with my milk. Eat, O friends, drink ye, drink abundantly, O beloved.
Right, now to speed up, you get Sirach 15 verse 2 since in Sirach, and then go to Isaiah 55 verse 1. So that's why we have these things. These things, to the good, they're going to be for our food, they're going to be for our nourishment, right? This is why it's important that we have these things within our diet, right? Let's read that. You first.
Psalm 15 and 2. It's the book of Ecclesiasticus, or Sirach, chapter 15 and verse 2. And it reads, and as a mother shall she meet him, and receive him as a wife married of a virgin.
Talking about wisdom, go on.
With the bread of understanding, shall she feed him, and give him the water of wisdom to drink.
Right. So that wheat, meaning that bread of understanding, is for a penny. It's not expensive, right? It's relatively cheap. Everything in this world, it has inflation, right? Next 1 minute, the classic Freddos. 1 minute it's this amount, then it's that amount, right? Everything that's really important is just rising up in price. Milk, bread, all your groceries, everything. It's literally rising up in price. All your favorite electronics, whatever it is. Phones, like, what the hell is a phone doing being a bag, being £1,000, right? So everything is inflating in price, yet this truth, this knowledge is still free. Let's read that.
Isaiah chapter 55, verse 1. Ho, everyone that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that have no money, come.
What?
And he that have no money, come ye, buy and eat. Yea, come, buy wine and milk without money and without price.
Right, so it's without money and without price. Meaning this is, so for us to come into the truth, the Lord had to make sure that this truth was still free. Right, so while people are going into the seminar schools, whatever you call it, and then paying for their courses and they're doing theologian courses and paying for it, the Most High said, it's free. So you didn't paying for it. We're not here charging you. Oh yeah, after the word is done, yeah, that will be, that's £2 per precept. Right? For every verse. I'm giving you precept, right? For every 10 verses, that's going to be £20. And you kind of have to pay. You have to pay your way in.
And I'm sure some people might know, I don't know if you remember, I think it used to be called 700 Club. I think a big Christian ministry. I think they used to charge, I don't know if it was 700, but it was a very high price for you to kind of be a part of that. And it's like, isn't the word supposed to be for free? So you kind of see, you kind of see the madness, man. 700 Club.
Let's go to Exodus chapter 30, verse 22. So it says I don't have to read it again, but it says in Revelation 6, verse 6, it says, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So that's how we know in this whole context that this black is doing hurt, it's doing damage. But yet it's refraining from destroying the oil and the wine. You don't understand why that oil and the wine still being intact is important. Let's read that.
Verse 22.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, Exodus chapter 30, verse 22. Moreover, the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, take thou also unto thee principal spices of pure myrrh, 500 shekels, and sweet cinnamon, half so much, even 250 shekels, and of sweet calamus, 250 shekels, and of...
Go down to verse 30. So this is that holy anointing oil, right? Not the oil you see in the churches, right? This is what they was using for the holy things. Let's read on.
This is Exodus chapter 30, verse 30. And thou shalt anoint Aaron and his sons, and consecrate them, that they may minister unto me in the priest's office.
And read verse 29 as well.
Verse 29. And thou shalt sanctify them, that they may be most holy. Whatsoever toucheth them shall be holy.
So the oil has not been touched. So everything has literally been touched out.